very loose-knit group. We just come to socialize in that. And I've always been against, and I know you have too, of political associations with anybody. But I thought this was a very important time in our careers, or after our careers. And if somebody could give us some information and help us understand what's really going on instead of disinformation. And Steve Rhodes suggested the General Motors Retirees Association, and I thought, well, that's really a good idea, and that's why I let everyone know that.
Basically what happened is several months ago, I think many of you, and I was one of them, got an email from the GM Retirement Association, you know, asking if you want to join. And I decided that I would go ahead and join. So on the application it says, can you, is there any skill set that you have that we might be able to use or something? And I said, well, I love to shoot video. You guys know that already. So I got an email a month and a half later from John Christie, who's the president of the GM Retirement Association, and saying they got the Chrysler retirement breakfast coming up in, I think it was April 29th, one day before Chrysler announced a bankruptcy. And we boiled it down to 3 10-minute videos that I put on YouTube. I went back there last week, and there was a town hall meeting where they basically discussed what had been going on. And when I saw that, and I saw the importance of the retirement organizations, you know, what they were doing and how they were interacting with the legislators and with the public, you know, in terms of public opinion, I thought it'd be a good idea to have these guys come here today. And so this morning, I'm really glad we have John Christie here, who's president of the GM Retirement Association. Next to him is Rick Knoth, who is the vice president of in this region, and they're both going to tell you a little bit about the GM Retirement Association and what's going on. So.
My name is John Christie. I'm a GM retiree. I think like the rest of you guys, I think most of you folks worked in research and development. I was over on the manufacturing side. I want to thank you guys for inviting us today, and special thanks to Steve because for all the work he's done with just helping share what GMRA is doing, and part of that was just getting the videos from the Chrysler guys because they're going through exactly the same thing. They're about a month ahead of us. We got their videos, put them out on the website, and I hope it's helped some of you guys that have been, I'm hoping you've been to the website, taking a look at what we have out there, and you can see some of the videos from the lawyers and other people that have been working with bankruptcy issues. Just a real brief history of where GMRA came from. We're a pretty young organization. Back in February, 3 or 4 of us started bouncing emails around. Said, you know, what's going on with the auto industry? You know, how is this going to affect our retirements? You know, we can't tell what's coming, but it doesn't look good. And if you think back to February, that's right around the time we're seeing all the really bad stuff starting to come out with Delphi. So we said, well, Delphi is just forming a group, and they may have some chance of salvaging something. Chrysler's got a group in place. They've been around for about a year. Who represents GM, salary retirees? Who's out there? You know, who can we link up with? So we looked around, and you know what we found? We found a lot of clubs just like this one. You know, there's, as far as we know, there's about 230, 240 clubs that are very similar to this, and not everybody even belongs to the clubs. But they're very good social units. A lot of fellowship, a lot of good times together, sharing old times, but not very organized as far as being active or trying to do anything for retirees as a whole. And we found some websites that were pretty good at sending out communications, but again, they weren't really well positioned to represent retirees. So one thing led to another, and March time frame, we started organizing. Today we've gotten to the point where we have a full board of directors. We're a fully incorporated organization. We have a board of directors. There are 9 regional vice presidents. Regional vice president for Michigan is Rick Knoth, and he's going to be up here in just a minute. It's a nationwide organization, and we have members. Probably, I won't say every state yet, but we've got members in just about every state, I think. We have a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, communications director, so we're pretty well organized. We're working with the Chrysler guys, with some of the Ford guys, with the Delphi guys, and we work with one other umbrella organization. It's called NRLN. Don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's the National Retiree Legislative Network. What they do focus on is legislative changes, trying to plug some of the holes that have been put into the laws over the last few years that allow companies to use retirement benefits, to use pension funds, to fund reorganizations and things like that that deplete your retirement benefits. We're in bankruptcy, and as a matter of fact, Rick and I are going to be meeting with the attorney in New York next week for a bankruptcy hearing where we're going to be asking for something called the Section 1114 Committee. And what the purpose of that committee is to protect benefits. Not pension, but benefits. It looks like our pension is in pretty good shape. You know, GM did not rate it as much as they could have. We think they used it for some things, but it's still pretty well funded. PBGC doesn't have any real interest that we understand in taking it over, so our pensions look like they're pretty good. And that's coming from the corporation and from what we've been able to find out from other sources also. But the benefits package, I think we all know what that looks like. The letter came out. I assume everybody got one this week. Life insurance got whacked pretty hard. Vision, dental, extended care, that's the other, extended care. And then, of course, they said there'll be a substantial increase in cost of benefits and co-pays. One of our biggest concerns is what's going to happen after the bankruptcy proceedings when we get to next year. Are we going to go through this again? I hope not. That's where Chrysler ended up. I'm sure a lot of you guys have Chrysler friends. You're probably hearing a very similar story from them. They've got an extension of their benefits. Their salary guys have an extension of benefits for 1 year. What happens at the end of the year? Don't know. Hopefully we'll get an 1114 committee established, and that's what we're targeting for, is to get our benefits at least locked in so they don't take any more away over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. The good news is GM decided not to put all this into what they're calling the old corporation. They will carry it forward to the new corporation. So at least there's a chance if the new corporation is successful that the funding will continue to be there. The next logical question that you guys should really have is, okay, you formed an organization to go to court to represent retirees in New York in the bankruptcy hearings. What do you do after next week? Depending on which way this goes, we could be done next week, we could be done in 30 days, 60 days with the bankruptcy portion. After that, we're going to be partnering a lot closer with NRLN, along with Chrysler, with Delphi, with Ford, and probably Visteon, to try to plug some of the holes in the various legal rulings that are sitting out there now. Just give you an idea of some of the stuff NRLN is working on is they're trying to get the cost of prescription drugs down. They're looking at some ways to try to eliminate the proverbial donut hole. They also want to try to come up with changes to the healthcare system, allow people between 50 and 65 to buy into Medicare. Right now, for retirees that are under 65 at Delphi, for instance, they have zero insurance. So they're looking for something to try to help people that have fallen into that category, which especially pertains to the GM retirees, because about 20% of the current GM retirees are under 65. Well, it's about 24,000 people that if GM were to cancel our insurance, which they could have done, or they could have tried to do, they would have no insurance at all. The other thing they're looking at is protection of pensions, which that pertains to all of us. The companies are rating pension funds, fund restructuring inside the companies to offer early buyouts to people, encourage people to leave. It's our understanding that GM was doing that, but they were encouraged to stop doing it by the Fed, because the Fed said your pension fund's too big, we don't ever want to have to fix it, we don't want to have to take it over, you got to stop doing that. And our fund's about 95% funded, so we're in pretty good shape. Delphi's fund is below 60%. The other thing with pensions is there's a movement afoot, there's a lot of dialogue going on with the legislators now about allowing pension funds to be sold to third-party investors. And we'd like to see that stopped. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really want to see a hedge fund buying up our pensions. So that's the type of stuff that NRLN is working on. You can go to their website and you can look at their whole legal agenda. So after we get through the bankruptcy stages in the next week or months, whenever we're done with whatever we can do with the GM bankruptcy, then we're going to start looking at the legislative side of things.